You know, Bert said, peace begins in the soul, right? He had a book called Peace Begins in the Soul. And I've read from parts of it at different times. But he talks about the individual sense of peace and then moving into peace begins in the family, and then moving into peace in the community or collective, and then moving into the broadest sense of peace, each person forging their own path. And what does he mean by that, right? And what does anybody mean by that, right? It's sense of alignment, sense of presence, sense of relaxation, even with our anxiety, right? In constellation work, there's attention given to the idea of befriending your most difficult parts, right? Your anxiety, your cancer, whatever it is, your judgment, befriending those parts so the volume can be lowered. Other parts have a voice too. And finding peace in space, in the spaciousness, rather than finding peace as a sort of psychological or religious imperative. Peace is found really through spaciousness. I befriend my ugliest parts because if I just hate them, I turn away from all my parts and I focus on them. If I hate, I may as well love. It's the same energy I'm putting out there. But love actually lets me release and see my other parts. Hate puts me into battle. It tightens the dyad between me and one aspect of me. And it makes it very difficult to connect with the rest of the world. So peace begins in the soul is a kind of endless, I think, an endless finding of, I say sometimes I think our parts are codependent. We see codependence out there. We are internally codependent, right? The part of me that just finds it impossible, and you're not going to believe this, finds it impossible to speak up, right? Is in a very tight relationship with the part of me that demands attention or takes up a tremendous amount of space. But when I can befriend both of those parts, this sort of, interstitial me can come up that is more well balanced. So peace begins in the soul is like a multifaceted, I was going to say exploration, but I would say determination. I think exploration is a little too passive. I think it's actually something we can kind of promise ourselves that I am going to look for and find those places of peace and then cultivate them. And then peace begins in the family. I am much more able to find reconciliation with both the living and the dead when I have this sense that I come with enough. I'm not dependent on somebody else to tell me that. And that's essential because peace beginning in the family or finding peace in the family also happens through spaciousness. Also happens from moving out of the dyads. If my mother continues to behave in this way, I will continue to be this way, right? What a terrible proposition. It doesn't celebrate sovereignty at all. It resigns oneself to the behavior of somebody else, and it makes us bend ourselves to other people's vulnerabilities. And if I bend myself to somebody else's vulnerability, then I will forever resent them, guaranteed. So finding peace in the family is a solo journey. It is not transactional. It may have different repercussions than we're used to, but it's not contingent upon them, right? It moves out of transaction. And it says, I agree to me, no matter who you are. I will stay mobile. I will stay with my compass and I will stay within my sphere because on your planet, I don't have a chance. Peace Begins in the Family also recognizes that families are built around exclusion. They protect themselves by excluding others. That's why the first instinct in general is to be suspicious of, to judge, even to hate newcomers. Beneath the kind of neurosis of judgment, we are protecting the belonging of the original family. If we can see that, if we can know that, we can adhere less closely to those instincts because it's an instinct. That exclusion process is an instinct because belonging is an instinct, exclusion is an instinct. So peace begins in the soul, peace begins in the family, and then peace begins in the community. When our sense of the family can be less tightly wound around exclusion, that can seep into our sense of community as well.